Hello, how you doing today? It's June 11th, 2018. Man, we're going to talk a little bit about rigging. We had some unbelievable things happen this last week, and it's something that's been happening for a very long time. We got all kinds of crazy stuff going on, as always, man. We're never really ready to do what we're called to do unless we've been persecuted and hounded and hunted down and betrayed by everybody you've ever known. This is how deep the rigging is in our society. You're like, oh man, I'm going on a pretty good path. Then you go into, a family member, a close friend, someone you've known forever comes out of the woodwork and just tries to destroy you. Right? Either online or in person, right? So we've had to get to safe places. And we've had to organize online and in life, right? And there's all these groups in the world, the real world, as real as it is, and online as well. Everyone's blocking everybody and like, oh, I'm gonna form this other group, and then Facebook pulls the plug on groups. See, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about rigging. When we talk about rigging, we're talking about things that have been going on for a very, very long time. And a lot of people rigging, you got your rigging on your ship. If we can rig with our rigging. Our rigging has rigging. Like our corruption in our society right now. The corruption has corruption. The rigging is rigged. It's so deep. You see what I mean? And they play a game with us. They watch us. Unless you've had people posing as like utilities workers. Oh, I'm coming here to install the cable on your house. It's like, oh, I don't have any cable. I didn't request you to come here and install cable on the house. Oh, sorry, And next time they come back, like, oh, we had a call that this was going on in the backyard. Okay, let's go to the backyard. Oh, that's not going on, It's like, oh, they take off. It's like a government agency posing as different private companies. Unless you've had a lot of government agencies try and infiltrate where you're at, or unless you've had like family members try and destroy you, then you're nowhere even close to being able to solve the problem in our society, because that's how deep the rigging is. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm talking about? And what a nightmare, like this intelligence nightmare. We would have never gotten into this at all if we would have known what this would have created. This is a nightmare. Millions of dollars being wasted on all these sides trying to hold each other accountable. And yeah, some sides are much more accountable than other sides. But really, the core of all of our problems, and yeah, we fight and attack and take the side that's the most right to take. But the most core side to take is the side of the person, of your neighbor, is to take God's side. I need your help. Do me a favor, every single person you come across in your life, take the time to help them, no matter who they are. It doesn't matter. The whole point is, and the whole source of this rigging is to try and get us all ruffled, like, oh, I'm so upset, I'm so angry, I'm so emotional, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to get in my car and just punch it, I'm in a hurry, and I'm going to drive by these people that need help. I'm going to drive by someone that needs help with their tire on the side of the freeway. No, we always stop. If you're someone who can't defend yourself, it is suspicious, yeah, call for help, but let people know that people need help. You see what I'm talking about? The whole core of our problem. I need your help. Everybody needs each other's help. for this to go right because it's so rigged. The rigging is so deep. And they're right on us, man. I'm telling you, they're watching us, and as soon as we do one thing, it's like, oh, I want to get up in the morning and go and make my breakfast, They're like, oh, he's having eggs. Oh, man, he did this, you know what I mean? So whatever we do, they're immediately coming back is that deep. And so, like I say, they'll fight. Evil influences will fight just as hard for just as long, and then when they have control of the tech companies, when they have control of the governments, when they have control of the religions, because they do. All the religions, all the corporate religions have been corrupted and have been sold and bought. All the governments have been sold and bought, even though we are fighting for the most correct political leaders in the United States. They're still bought, and it's an incredibly dangerous scenario because of the way that it's rigged and the way that they're making us fight. We're in a really tough situation. We have to fight for the better people, but at the same time, there's other problems that are going to be caused by that because these other influences are starting to do what they're doing. So like I say, once we have, I don't care what anybody does. I don't care how rigged it is. I don't care as far as the rigging goes. It's deep. It's deep. Very, very, very deep. I don't care. As long as we have enough people that are willing to listen and actually put into practice the principles of freedom, are actually willing to help their neighbor at any cost, and then we're fine. That's all it takes. All it takes is a certain amount of people willing to, okay, well, this problem's going on in my house, so instead of attacking this person, let me help them and take the time with them. This problem's going on my street when I'm driving out of my car. Okay, let me stop and help them. This problem's going on in the community. Let me take the time with them. And then everybody's spending all their time helping and talking to everybody, and then there's no problem. See, that's what they're against. Do you see what I mean? That's why they're rigging it. Do you see what I mean? That's why they come right back with everything, because they don't want that. Who doesn't? Well, the deep rigged influences who have sold their souls and who are bought and who have done their best to, over time, to get control of every group on the planet, that has any amount of power, because why? They lose money. You see what I mean? It's all it is. It's all about this. It's all about this. And then you get like socialists and liberal influences. Yeah, see, Trump's bad because he's rich, It's like, no, he's spending all his money trying to help others. You know what I mean? He's a very productive person. He's in real estate. You don't even want to know how much money I've spent on my own to get kicked in the teeth. Good people are productive. They get what they need, sometimes more than what they need, and then they spend it to get kicked in the teeth. Evil people are the ones who take money and rig governments and everything, religions, corporations, we'll make this corporate and a certain amount of money of our stocks. We're started as a humble religion. But now we've evolved to the point where we've fully come into our own, We're a corporation and we're a world power, We're so cool. And so we have a portfolio, we got investors, and we're going to, invest a certain amount of our money in these stocks. So then we're beholden to the stocks and not even to the people and the way that the religion was fucking founded. Do you see what I mean? So that's how money and influence groups, and then who loses? The people. The people are who lose, because a person who comes into what they think is a pure group wants to find what they're looking for. They want to find the truth. They want to find people that are applying it correctly. Same with the government. Same with any kind of a business, you know, a consumer, a person, the people. They're like, well, I want to go in there, and I don't want to be a citizen of the United States, you know. I want to be a citizen of Ecuador. I want to be a citizen of Chile or Germany, you know, or Iceland or wherever, you know. And a lot of times we have choices, a lot of times we don't, and now they're just crimping down all the borders on all of it. You see what I mean? Do you see the trap here? We have to fight for the best candidates, but not too much. Because then they get carried away, and then these influences, they're rigging it, are still, they get a hold of these people that are in power, and then they suck onto them. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, you're doing such a good job, you're in charge now. Well, let's isolate ourselves. And see, Trump is doing a good job with the other world powers as far as breaking down all these tariffs and stuff that they started. In a lot of ways, it takes transparency. You see what I mean? And this is what's so awesome about having Trump and about having politicians around the world who are higher up the political scale. They've got to be conservative. The United States is still fighting between like socialism, liberalism, and conservatism. Actually, the United States is probably in between liberalism and conservatism. It's on its way to conservatism. It's leaning towards conservatism, but it's still caught in the middle. Like I say, the United States has never been a conservative country, ever. Other than right in the 1770s for just a little bit. Maybe 1780s, 1790s, George Washington leaves, everything goes to hell. Because, why? Britain comes right back in. The very exact thing that the Patriots did to secure freedom in the United States was for the people. It was to tip the scale towards the people. When we talk about government, it's very important to understand the whole point. And look at all these people. It's an unbelievable time to live, isn't it? Isn't it unbelievable? You see millions of people fighting for their own slavery, fighting against their own freedom, fighting against their future. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. What did they do? What did people do in the founding of the United States? And what have all the revolutions around the world tried to do? They try and tilt the scale towards the people. That's the right way to tilt it. What are all these rigged and dark forces trying to do now? They're trying to tilt it towards the government. California, man, lost the best leader in Travis Allen, man, that they would ever have. I think he'll be a future leader of California or of somewhere else in the United States. He's too good. He's too good of a candidate. California doesn't even deserve him because most of the millions of California are fighting for their own destruction because they don't understand politics. And a lot of us are fighting our guts out, bleeding, people hunting us down, trying to explain to enough people fast enough to turn it around. Do you see what I mean? But this is why it's been so hard, is because for so long, man, 75 million years or longer. You know what I mean? I mean, rigging recently has been a decade-long process. I mean, people who have rigged things to get us to where we're at today, it's been a decades-long process, you know, but like I say, it's been a lot longer than that. There's dark forces who have installed things on people that are like, okay, well, that's not going to kick in for this amount of millions of years or this amount of decades or hundreds of years or whatever, you know what I mean? And these people are very specific in what they're doing. They're not joking around. They're evil, you know? And people in this society have a problem with evil. it's like I say, it's the hardest thing to consistently confront on an ongoing basis, because when no one wants to believe that it's there, and when you go deeper and deeper, you're like, no, that's far enough. I don't want to go any further, you know. And then when you do, you're like, man, that's true. That's evil. And so, obviously, a large percentage of our problem is just getting the populace, masses of amounts of people. So we post things, we put things out. You know what I mean? No one is worth anything these days that doesn't post truth or doesn't put out truth in their life. They don't have the balls or the guts to just put out basic truths. That they're worth nothing. Nothing. You have no value in the future. You know, that's the truth. It might hurt. The reason why is because there's millions of people who don't even think that there's right and wrong. They've been brainwashed so badly, and they're on such a downward trend that the first thing they have to do is just recognize that something is wrong and something is right. And then from there, they can be helped to see what is more and more wrong and what is more and more right. And these things are night and day. We end up on two with opposites. And like I say, the more that someone can see the dichotomy in life, the more that someone can see polar opposites in life, the better they are, the more sane they are, the more healthy. It's like night and day, you know? It's like I see the sun is bright, you know? It's night, it's dark. I mean, it's the ability to have rational thought. So, but of course, yeah, like I say, we have a lot of influencers who are fighting for people to be dumb, but the rigging takes a long time. See, for us to get into a place with California where it's like, oh man, you know, we had these awesome leaders that are not getting enough support, you know, that took a lot of time. I mean, it took passing specific bills along the way which weaken and destroy the understanding of the population. The main ones, the top two, in California, because then you have people who are like so confused about political parties and where people stand, they don't even know, you know? The effort to confuse the people is based on watering down organizational principles. It's based on doing away with political parties. It's based on doing away with educating people correctly about politics. It goes so far as to just completely brainwash people about politics and completely teach them the wrong things, right? So then you have, over the course of decades, when you have enough people who don't understand, then of course it's going to be impossible to get a result. You see what I mean? And then there's the polling, and then there's the votes, you know? Oh, we'll conveniently leave off all these names off the rolls, you know? Hundreds of thousands of people that show up to the polling places, and they're like, okay, what's your name? And they give them their name. They're like, oh, you're not on the list. So what does that do? That makes people want to leave. They're like, oh, they left me off the list. Well, I don't know if I want to be here, if I should be here. You know what I mean? A lot of people did. Do you know what I mean? So how does that happen? Oh, we made a mistake. No, there's no such thing. Mistakes, whenever anyone makes a mistake, it means that underlying that is something that's purposeful. And this is what I'm talking about. Rigging, we basically have to look at our society like Star Wars. And it's so easy, or a lot of these movies where there's good and evil forces, you know what I mean? Lord of the Rings or whatever, right? But whenever in our society, when people have a problem with looking at what's actually happening around them, but they don't have a problem with going to the movies. They don't have a problem with watching a movie and being like, oh man, look at that. These evil forces in Star Wars are plotting against the good guys, and that's real. That's what happened, or that's what happens, you know? Then they go out into the society, oh no one would do anything like that now. No, it's the exact same thing. The exact same thing. You know, when people watch movies and see the good and the bad guys go after each other, that's exactly what's happening in our current society right now. Exactly. No different. And so all the same players, everything's the same. And it's actually becoming more that way. The more technologically advanced our society becomes, the more it will actually come into play what has happened before. And so But when people rig things, they're looking to plot and plan. The good guys aren't doing that. The good guys are going about their business. They may not be as proactive as they should be. Of course, this is the problem, right? When good guys don't do anything, then they get kicked off of Facebook. You know what I mean? Unless enough people fight hard enough, and that's why I've said it's ridiculous. We have so many weak people who are supposed to be strong. We're going to fight every fight along the way. You know, we get tons of support, and they pull the plug, then we'll just keep fighting on another angle. We fought. We didn't get California yet. We're going to keep fighting for it. You know, we're going to keep fighting for the United States, keep fighting for the world to straighten up. If we don't get it, we'll just come at it from another angle. Do you see what I mean? But the point, the good people never stop fighting. You see what I mean? That's a definite problem. As soon as good people aren't as active enough, then they rig it way more, you know? And the whole point is when good people are fighting hard enough and are proactive enough in handling these problems, then they can't rig it. Because then all these bills, like, oh, we passed this bill that, you know, destroys all the understanding of the people, makes it unfair. Well, that never would have been passed if we would have had a lot of good people fighting. You know what I mean? Oh, the polls, they messed up with the polls, you know? Well, we have a lot of good people that are concerned about the election process. What do evil people want? They want good people to do nothing. They want to convince people that they only live once. Like I've said, evil people, whether they know it or not, and a lot of people are acting evil, but they're not really evil. They want people to think that you only live once. YOLO. That's their main message. And a lot of people don't know, and they're confused, but they used to know. Societies have taught for a very, very long time that people have lived before and they'll live again. The truth is that we live before and we live again. You know, we come back. You're brought back if you're up to a certain level of ethical conduct. And even if you're not, you might come back as a salmon or something else, you know. Life is all about a responsibility level that someone wants to take. And the only way that life is understandable is to realize that a spiritual being is something different from a body. This is the only way that it's understandable. And when you understand this point, you understand, oh, well, the spiritual being themselves is being this body or a salmon. Do you see what I mean? Based on the amount of responsibility level that they're willing to have, and or based on their choices. Do you see what I mean? This is the laws of God and nature. And this is what everyone wants to stop, you know? Everyone wants to stop the truth about life. You know what I mean? And we have certain politicians and certain governments and things that are happening on the world scale, but really what the dark influencers want to stop more than anything is people being able to find out the truth about themselves and their origin, where they come from, how long they've been around. And so the same people that push YOLO and the same people who no YOLO. If you ever hear someone saying YOLO, put them in check right there. Be like, no, man, you know, I mean, and we're always nice to everybody, but never agree with that. Never, ever agree with that. You know what I mean? As soon as someone says YOLO, then immediately ask them, say, who told you that? You know, who was the one that told you that you only lived once? You know, oh, it was something I saw online, or one of my friends at the playground or whatever said YOLO, so we might as well do this, you know? Okay, well, where did they get it from? You know what I mean? Keep tracing it back, and you'll find that these dark influences who profit off of bodies being manipulated are the ones who push YOLO. Because what is happening with our bodies? our bodies are becoming weaker. Our bodies are becoming weaker because of these influences. Like and this is the big thing that goes against YOLO, is that whenever you do something, this is the laws of God and nature, whenever you do something, you're going to receive a reward or a consequence from that thing. You eat something, it's good or bad. You have a drug, it's bad. Do bad sex, it's bad. You warp procreation. Procreative power is used for creating kids. So as soon as someone starts to have sex and use that exclusively for pleasure, then they're going to go down the sex scale. They're going to get into homosexuality, pedophilia, bestiality, sadomasochism, rape, murder. The more that one pleasure isn't enough, then the more someone reaches for darker and darker things. If it's with food, if it's with drugs, if it's with sex. And so, as our society, these bodies, look at this. If we have all of these harmful toxins going into the bodies, drugs and, mercury and vaccines, formaldehyde, fetal tissue, all this mad scientist, witch doctor garbage that goes into a body. Well, guess what? The next body that person has when they come back is going to be absolutely a disaster. This is what's happening. The future generation, the kids, the grandkids, you know what I mean? Everyone has their own reality level on what it is, on what life is, and their existence. And that's fine. Do you know what I mean? But no one can argue with the fact that, well, if we're having children, if our children are having children, if we have a future generation on the planet, then what we're doing to them, look at all the youth today. Look at all the people in our society today. All of these things that are going into these people. And then what are they going to do? What kind of children are they going to have? Do you see what I mean? All this genetic altering. Well, they're not autistic, They're just kind of autistic. Do you see what I mean? Well, what genes are they going to pass on? You know what I mean? What mental and spiritual and physical things are they going to pass on? Do you know what I mean? Let alone the species. You see what I mean? And then it goes for salmon. It goes for bears. It goes for deer. It goes for the primary focus is to get this planet back to the way that God and nature intended. We're going through this nightmare technological age. You know what I mean? And that's how we know that someone's insane. That's how we know if they push YOLO. They think they only live once, and if they, at the expense of destroying the bodies, destroying the populations, and for profit, right? It all ties in. It all ties in. It's like, well, we have these income streams. You know what I mean? And because we're gonna, like if it's in California, we're gonna mandate that everyone has an electric car. We're gonna force them to ride on the train or whatever. These are technological advances that bring what? They bring money, but what? At the expense of nature, right? So we have to have the right amount of technology and infrastructure around the world so that everyone can be in communication with each other, but that's it. Nothing further than that. And yeah, we have trade with all these other countries. Trump is right because he wants to get it back to the free market, which is let's take away the taxes and the tariffs and let's just have it be straight across the board for everybody, because then the people win, but then the people are going to be making more money and they got to be more responsible with their money. It's about awareness and getting enough people to choose to eat good foods, to choose to not do drugs, to choose to not slide down the sex scale and listen to all this garbage in the electronic age. See, we have a lot more ability to learn everything, and we have a lot more ability to get our hands on. Everybody has the children. See, it's all about family values. It's all about family values. And yes, we want people to be able to let go of money, but it's a choice. It's not to be forced. The best thing anyone can ever do is to just go out and purely help people, purely love people without expecting anything in return. Just have a conversation with them, help them, because it goes completely against the program. Yeah, and everyone freaks out, because, oh, you're supposed to be here at this time. And you don't have a 9 to 5, or even if you do have a 9 to 5, the successful people take their times with everybody at their office and everybody around them. Do you see what I mean? But everything that we need comes to us when we help our fellow man. It's putting man above mud. You see what I'm talking about? That's our goal. That's our purpose. We're people. We're spiritual beings, in fact, that have the potential for immortality. We're spiritual beings that have lived for a very, very long time. The more that you're ethical, the more that you're positive, the more that you help others, the more you connect with people that can help you find out more about that. I'm going to do a lot more about that as soon as I'm not hounded so much, and every time I talk I get more and more hounded, so it's never going to end, but we'll figure it out. So thank you so much, I love you guys so much, and so take your attention off of what the world wants you to do. Put your attention on what God wants you to do. Listen, follow, do what you're supposed to do, and everything will work out great. You know what I mean? We as much as it's rigged, as much as the wrong things that we have going on, you know what I mean? We have so many strong people networking together from every possible background. This is the mark of a good person. This is a mark of a person who I'm willing to have in my group. And who I want to work with is someone who comes from any background, any group. Doesn't matter what their name is, doesn't matter, what kind of uniform or clothing they have on or not or whatever. It's just if they're willing to put forth effort to solve the problem. That's the other way that it's been rigged, is the worldly influences are like, oh, well, they don't look this way, or they don't have this kind of a name, or they're not in our group. It's like, no, well, they're solving the problem. They're solving the problem. You know what I mean? That's all we want. That's all we care about. Thank you so much. I love you so much.